Who would you like to recommend?
Bell Gama. She could gather lots of good insights from America.
Challenge accepted.
Employer branding is one of the topics that I like the most. I expect a very interesting conversation. What changed? All those big brands needed help to create this employer branding strategy.
Only the brand doesn't sell itself anymore. People are approaching their careers differently nowadays. They are looking not for promises or for polished messages. They want true value.
What is the biggest misconception about EVP?
EVP is not a marketing campaign, not a branding exercise.
How could you be realistic about something that everyone knows is going to be work against the company?
You have to communicate with honesty and transparency. It's up to the people to decide if this company is up for them or not. A good EVP is not for everybody. A good EVP is a good filter, right, for your company, not everybody. Times can even say yes to your company, but they will not stay because of the free beer or the football table. They stay there because they trust their leaders, because they see opportunities to grow.
They go to ChatGPT and they write down, tell me how it is to work at this company. This really happens?
Really happens. Similar to marketing, there are a lot of investments to understand the whole cycle of the consumer. It's the same in employer branding. The cycle is so complex as the consumer one.
What exactly is the role that executives and leaders should play in employer branding?
EVP, it's not an HR topic or a marketing topic or a communication topic. It's a joint venture between a lot of departments.
Hello, Bell. Thank you for joining the show today.
Thank you so much, João. It's so nice to be here.
You are the CEO and co-founder of Hair Branding, the first Brazilian agency that is specialized in employer branding, but also you are the chairwoman of One Agent, which is the world's largest network of employer branding agency, as well as author of employee branding books. So as I've mentioned before in some other episodes, employer branding is one of the topics that I like the most. I feel like it's super relevant in today's world. I expect a very interesting conversation. Was this a good introduction? Did I miss anything?
Yes, it was perfect. I think that what we have in common is that we are both passionate about EB. More than my role, I think I just have my role because I'm such a passionate about this topic.
Then what inspired you to specialize in employer branding and EVP?
It's interesting, João, because I spent many years working in different areas of communications, from branding to strategy to social media. But in 2013, I had a terrible interview with a headhunter for a senior corporate role. And I realized something, that communication and HR were operating completely in different worlds. So shortly after that, I was invited to develop a brand positioning for a new recruitment consultancy in Brazil. And it was the first time that I read about employer branding. And suddenly, everything clicked on my mind. I realized that a company's brand shouldn't be only about products and services. It should also reflect the real experience people have inside the organization. So in 2015, I founded Air Branding to help bridge that gap in Brazil and across Latin America. Today, we are a huge team over there. We have like 50 people working in air branding in Brazil and other parts of the world. Myself, I'm in Lisbon right now. And as you said, I combine my role as a CEO at Air Branding and as a chairman at One Agent.
So you have this unique perspective of working employer branding on Latin America, but not only Brazil, but also Latin America. Has this topic, employer branding, evolved in Latin America over the last decade?
Super. 10 years ago, employer branding was still a very niche topic in Latin America. Even when I started Air Branding, I had to start teaching classes, doing some lectures. So in many companies back then, it was often an internal communication topic. But the marketing evolved in stages. First, it was a few passionate pioneers who really believed in the discipline. It was the first ones who hired us back in 2015, 2016. After that, it came a phase where many organizations thought that having a football table or a colorful office was enough to build a great culture. Fortunately, this is ended.
Even in Brazil, because Brazil soccer is...
Even in Brazil, Google is everybody wanted to work there, even in Brazil. But I think that especially after the pandemic, the conversation has changed.
Okay.
And the employer brand is more mature in Brazil and in Latin America. Companies really understand that reputations starts from within, and what employer branding, what employee experience has a direct impact in the business results. So I think it really shifted. We had the opportunity to be part of the journey. As I said, I did classes, I wrote books. And the first EVP that we did in the region was in 2016. We have back then only three clients, and as I say, pioneers and entrepreneurs. But after that, we started to do a lot of EVPs for tech companies and startups, like 𝘮𝘮𝘦, which is Didi here in Europe. In Brazil, it's called 𝘮𝘮𝘦, and 𝘭𝘰𝘰𝘬𝑴, which is another financial startup. And after that, we started to navigate in the challenge of the pandemic, involved in talking about this topic in the region. Today, the topic is huge over there. We have more than 60 EVP projects in air branding, in the most recognized brands in the market, including Nubank, which is the biggest financial company in Brazil. They are now in US as well. We did the EVP for TikTok in the region, Natura, Grupo Boticário. And what excites me the most is how Latin America has moved beyond the surface level initiatives to embrace employer branding as a strategic, data-driven discipline that creates business impact.
Okay.
So changed a lot.
It's very strange because you name things like Natura, Boticário, financial institution. What changed to the point that all those big brands needed help to create this employer branding strategy in EVP?
I think nowadays, and even in the Latin America, only the brand doesn't sell itself anymore. The talents in Latin America are driven by different things. Our biggest challenge today is that some companies are still selling a dream while people are really aiming for real answers. So sometimes the companies were like selling purpose, but they are hiring performance. So this gap in the speech and the reality made the Brazilian and Latin America companies to really go deep in their propositions to know what to sell. I brought here an example of a research that we have, João.
Okay.
At our branding in partnership with SmartComs, which is another consultancy, we analyzed insights from nearly 30,000 professionals as part of our EVP methodology to understand why people join, stay, or leave a company in Latin America. So all these talents are Brazilians and Latin Americans. And a few years ago, a company's size and reputation, as you said, Natura and Boticário, were major attraction factors. But today, that's just not as important as used to be. People are approaching their careers differently nowadays. They are looking not for promises or for polished messages. They want true value. So most of them are looking for good pay. This is the number one thing that they seek for in an employer. The second thing that they aim the most is career growth, with 67% of the people who answer the research. And the third thing is learning opportunities, 60%. All those three things are super rational. It's very different than we say like the size of the brand, the popularity of the brand. So this is shifting in Latin America.
Does that mean that if I'm a brand that is unknown in Latin American markets, but I pay well, I give training opportunities, etc., although the name may not be good on your CV because no one knows that company, people will be willing to join my company because at Well I give training opportunities.
Yes, if you have like a truthful speech, for example, if you are not very known in the region, you don't need to sell that you are a huge brand, that everybody knows you. Speaks the truth. I'm like a B2C company. Nobody really knows me yet, but I have something special to offer. If you say that if that offer is about good pay, career growth, you have chances to attract top talent.
And that's the kind of help that you've been able to also help the big brands, which is go beyond just the brand and answer those questions that you mentioned, which is what do we pay well? We do. Do we offer career opportunities? For sure. Learning opportunities? Yes, a lot. That's how you shape an employer branding proposition.
Yes, and I think this must be strange when I talk to you because you are in Europe and those things looks like normal, like pay well, pay decently.
It sounds like normal things like people look for.
Yeah. But in Brazil, you have to understand, and in Latin America, when you're talking about inflation, when you're talking about companies who fail, who lay offs a lot, security means for those people. So if in Europe this is like a common promise, in Latin America this is important one. Just to be a company that pays well regularly, that doesn't have like scandals and corruption, that does your job in an ethical way, it's important back then.
Do you see differences when working in employer branding in Latin America, different from North America or even Europe?
For example, when we're talking about Brazil and Portugal, it feels like we have the same language, but it's totally different. In Brazil and Latin America, relationships are still a major factor across Latin America. People want to work in someone that they can really rely on the economic part and also in the people that they are going to work with, the leadership. So in countries that like Brazil, like Mexico, like Colombia, like Argentina, who are facing high inflation or political uncertainty, compensation, financial security, and stability becomes top priorities. In other countries, Mexico and Brazil especially, are a little bit more mature and they are fast-growing tech markets. So talents are aiming for career growth, learning opportunities, and workplace flexibility as well. We have to have in mind that Latin America feels like something unique, but it's not. We don't have you can't think on that as a single market. Every country, sometimes every city has its own dynamics, challenge, and expectations. For example, I'm going to bring a simple example. In Brazil, the diversity campaigns are really into racial and LGBT rights. When you're talking about Argentina, for example, the race is not an issue over there. They're much more talking about women's rights over there. So the focus is a little bit different between the countries and the city. One thing that unites us all is that this feeling to have bonds, special connections, and to do it in social media. We are really into social media over there.
What are the biggest talent attraction challenges organizations face across Latin America today?
Some companies are still selling this dream while people are looking for what's real. Latin Americans tend to avoid the vulnerability and the raw truth. We try to put things in a different way, softer way. So this is something that it's very important for us is to learn that we must talk the truth to our candidates or even our employees. If you see an American culture or even in a European culture, it's very usual and it's very simple for you to be candid and clear. For the Latin American, we try to talk things in a little bit softer way because it's how we do it. I always kid about an agent when you ask for a Brazilian, is everything okay? A Brazilian person will always say everything is good, everything is great. If you talk to another person from Europe, is everything great? If it's not, this person will say no, it's not okay.
They'll tell you.
So that's the way we are in Latin America.
Many companies talk about EVP, but few of them do it really well. In your opinion, what is the biggest misconception about EVP?
I think sometimes we have to convince the leadership that EVP is not a marketing campaign or not a branding exercise.
Why?
Many leaders treat it as a list of things that they would like their company to be. But this is not what EVP is all about. An authentic EVP should reflect reality. And I often say that it should be a mirror, not a mask. It's important to tell the truth. Two thinkers in employer branding that I like a lot are Charlotte Marshall and Bryan Adams. And they talk about always the give and get, the balance of we expect and what we offer from your companies. So I really think we should be honest in what we expect from the talents. Nowadays, you are really expecting performance. So it's important to let them know how much they are going to work, how much they are going to give to the company, how much time they are going to live in the company. So every organization has opportunities and challenges, and everybody can talk about that proudly, but you have to learn to talk about the trade-offs.
Mm-hmm.
Because employer branding is about reality. In the first day in the company, you understand what the company is doing, what's their culture. So it's important to be true.
That's interesting that you say that, because especially when it comes to the number of hours worked, etc., being realistic about that in certain companies could be scare candidates, right? My career, I worked in a company where there were a lot of working hours, and I was strictly forbidden to mention things. Like everyone knew, but I couldn't talk about that. So that's interesting. How could you be realistic about something that everyone knows is going to be work against the company?
You have to communicate with honesty and transparency because it's up to the people to decide if this company is up for them or not.
Yeah. So you might like it, or if you don't.
Yeah, and different what most of people think, a good EVP is not for everybody. A good EVP is a good filter because he's looking to attract those people who are right for your company, not everybody. Positioning your EVP is choosing your space, your area.
There must be plenty of EVP strategies, right? One of them should be to attract the masses. One of them should be to filter from the masses, right? Or something combined. It's not always the same thing. It's not always to get to everyone the best message, but sometimes it's just filter the right ones.
Even for my clients, they are really trying to do authentic messages, telling the vulnerabilities and telling the truth, because they know if they don't hire that way, they are going to lose the talent and the whole candidate experience will be not transformed in employee.
They will go to Glassdoor and then the truth will come out in a very bad way. And you use the expression, the strategy should be a mirror. So I guess what you mean there is that people should look into the company and see themselves if they like or not to be there, right? Because from previous conversations, I think we have this external EVP, which is the message as you broadcast, but also you have that internal EVP, which is you also need to work on what the internal people feel about the company, right? Because if you sell the best message out there, but then internally everyone disagrees with that message, or everyone is against the company, that will easily get out as well. Someone will ask for recommendations, speak with someone that works in the company, and the truth will get out.
Yeah, and I think I talked about the mirror because there's another point that you have to look at yourself And not everything on your face is perfect or amazing. You see the dark spots, the aging in my face, and the companies are like that. But if you don't see yourself in a world that we put a lot of filters on Instagram, if you put so much filters in your company, when you join there, you see the truth, and it's very different that you saw before. You're going to regret to be part of that company.
How realistic is you being seated in front of a CEO or a CHRO, HR director, and propose a strategy where you will bring out the company's wrinkles and put there on the message out there? How realistic is this?
Nowadays, the CEOs and the leaders are more into talk the real stuff. I did an interview this morning with a CEO for a company because they're doing their EVP, and he was super straightforward in what he wanted from employees and talents for the company. I think not all the companies are prepared to have that dialogue. But when I talk to them that we have the shadows and the light from every company, that we are not going to talk about the shadows, but we are going to reinforce the light part, they understand. But I need to know the shadows because I don't want to sell like a untruthful speech or untruthful promise.
So you want to know the shadows just for you to be aware, or the shadows will be part of the message?
Depends. Depends on what's your strategy. Sometimes, for example, I remember one company that was very chaotic that we worked on EVP. In every interview, every talent, in every research that I did, everybody talked about how they were fast-paced and chaotic. So this is something that we can't not put in our speech. We have to tell the truth to the talent. For example, when you come here, you work a lot, very fast, and sometimes things are not at our best. Things are we are doing things, we are working on things. Not everything is in the state of art. When we embraced that positioning, it was great because it really reflected the truth. It wasn't the best place to be, but it was the best place to be for those who want to build something. So this is what I was saying. It's not for everyone, but you always have someone who is aiming for that challenge, who wants to be challenged like that. So sometimes depends the way that you sell chaos and fast paced are people that are interested in working on those companies.
Okay, I have a pitch here. We are chaotic, but we pay well.
Or we are chaotic, but you are going to work with the best people in the business.
You cannot build something great if it doesn't come out of chaos.
Yeah, yeah. For example, this is something that it's super in the tech mindset that you have to embrace the chaos. You have to do a lot of mistakes if you are going to reach the fantastic, what is the best in class.
Doesn't come from stability, for sure.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And the world nowadays is chaotic, right? With everything that's happening, with all the AI, no one knows what will happen in the future. No one has that visibility, etc. So chaos will be probably the new normal until this stabilizes. Let's include up front. That's why I find these topics fascinating, because you can work around the message and become something that everyone sees as a bad thing could become a good thing if well explained, right? So it's amazing, amazing.
You are asking about the changes of this topic. And when I started, I remember that most of the EVPs were based on the purpose territory. For example, Unilever, Google, a lot of companies talking about what's their purpose in the world. Join me because I have a huge purpose. I want to explain to the world everything that's unexplained. I want to build a different world. And this was huge back then. I feel like, and I see in the EVPs that after pandemics, something shift. People are more into self-care, work-life balance, have a nice life, and have a good performance besides that, at the same time that they are looking for purpose nowadays. So the employee value propositions follows the world's dynamic as well. This is why it's so interesting because it changes. One company can have their EVP founded in purpose now, but from 5 years, everything can change. 10 years, everything can change.
Imagine that me as a company, I'm at a stage where I want to start working on my employer branding, my EVP. I want to start identifying what truly makes my company attractive. Where should I start?
I think everything starts with listening. EVP, it's a long-term project that has a lot of layers of research. For instance, we start always in qualitative research. We listen to the leaders, to stakeholders in HR, communications, culture, marketing. Also, we do like focus groups to understand the different types of talent. For example, the juniors, the executives, tech ones, corporative roles. So we do a lot of listening. Then also we do like quantitative research because some companies are huge and you have to listen a certain amount of people to understand what they are thinking. And when we cross the qualitative research and the quantitative research is when we start to understand their positioning. So we cross those elements and we start to understand in which territory this EVP is based from. Is it autonomy? Is it, for example, purpose? As I say, it's a teamwork. It's like a company that sells itself about brand awareness, the reliability, why they are so reliability. So different companies has different territories and sometimes more than one. I work with a lot of EVPs that are based in, for example, performance and based on teamwork. And when you understand this territory, you start to develop the framework and the strategy and the manifesto and then campaigns. So everything started with listening and diagnosis.
And then how often should companies revisit and update their EVP?
It really depends. If nothing happens, which is super awkward if nothing happens, every like 2 or 3 years is important to have a pulse check, to redo the quantitative research, to redo some listenings to understand if anything changed. But if a company do like a merge or even change drastically a strategy or rebrand something, if a huge thing happens in the company, you must redo your EVP. So if your organization change gears, you need to revisit your EVP. If it didn't change anything, every like 2 or 3 years, you must redo to see if everything's on track.
Interesting that this redo your EVP or check sounds like an internal exercise. Let's do the exercise to see if something changed. But how can I understand if the market has changed and now the market is looking for something different and I should change my EVP towards that?
Interesting question, John. I said that you were listening internal like leaders and talents, but also we listen three perspectives: internal, leaderships, and external. In external, in different ways. We go see a desk research about the competitors. So I see what the competitors are offering for those talents, but also we try to interview ex-employees, alumni, former employees, to understand why they leave the companies and what the marketing are offering. So it's important to look at the marketing as well, the market as well. So EVP is based on what's inside, but you have to understand what the marketing is offered to do a compelling proposition.
Probably also listen to candidates, right?
Candidates as well.
Their perception of the brand.
We sometimes we do like at Air Branding, you have a methodology that we do like we call it from Google to yes to desk. So research everything that the candidates do, everywhere where they search for you, what are their questions, what they are, other companies that they are considering, to understand what we can offer differently.
That's interesting. What kind of sources or tools do candidates use to search for companies besides Glassdoor?
Of course, AI tools and ChatGPT are a main powerhouse of search.
Mm-hmm.
I say that we started to Google, but nowadays I should change this diagnosis from AI to yes to desk, because AI became a huge part of this experience.
Uh-huh.
So we analyze, but what feeds AI, it's like the websites, press, social media, things like that.
So what you're saying is that you know that when someone gets an interview in a company or before they want to apply, they go to ChatGPT and they write down, tell me how it is to work at this company. This really happens?
Really happens. But in Latin America, another thing that they do, and this is the thing that they most do, is to ask for the employees from that company, to talk to a friend who works at that company. Tell me the truth, what's like to work at this company. That's why Glassdoor, Indeed, those kind of websites really emerged in the last days. So I should say that social media, AI tools, friends that work on that company, leadership profiles. Also, it's increasing. We want to understand what the CEO, what my future leader is saying in their LinkedIn, are some sources of research.
Yeah, many places that needs to.
Many places. When you see the roadmap, there are a lot of enters in just
which is good for an agency that works on this field, right? Because then you scare the client saying you need to act on all these fronts, and they are like, what? Okay, I really need help from an agency to work on it.
Back then, the CEOs and the leaders thought that was very easy to work in employer branding, because they said, just one way out, and that's not true. Similar to marketing, when you see, for example, a digital marketing strategy for a consumer brand, there are a lot of investments to understand the whole cycle of the consumer. It's the same in employer branding. The cycle is so complex as the consumer one.
What exactly is the role that executives and leaders should play in employer branding?
They need to understand the importance of the team. It depends on a lot of stakeholders. EVP, it's not an HR topic or a marketing topic or a communication topic. It's a joint venture between a lot of departments. Even if we do like a wonderful strategy, there's one thing that can ruin all the strategy, that is the experience. And sometimes the experience comes from a leadership moment. It's not all about communication and campaigns, about what happens inside the doors of the company in the meetings. So the executives must understand the EVP to be a true ambassador, sponsor of this mindset inside of the company. And this is what is most difficult, because we can use data, and you have a lot of things to do in a tactical way to attract candidates in terms of digital marketing, in terms of campaign. But when depends of the humans, of the leaders inside of the companies, in the meetings, we really need them to understand and be ambassadors of this team.
What's one thing that organizations spend money on that has really little impact on talent attraction?
The biggest waste of money is investing in superficial perks. or generic employer branding campaigns. As I said, for many years, many companies believe that free snacks, free beer,
Ping pong tables.
it was branded swags, like it was everything. But people are much, much more selective today. People sometimes can even say yes to your company because of those things, but they will not stay because of the free beer or the football table. They stay there because they trust their leaders, because they see opportunities to grow, because they have a positive day-to-day experience. So this is what is important.
Just to challenge you a little bit. What you're saying is that companies could get rid of the ping pong table completely, or that's a standard thing that you need to ensure as well as all the rest.
You can only have a ping pong table if your company is truly fun and gives the time for your employees to play ping pong. It's not about just quitting the funny parts, but it's important to be true. If you are a company super focused on performance, that your employee doesn't have time for anything, just to do meetings, that ping pong table will be like a picture what doesn't work in that company.
I could spend the whole day here speaking with you about these topics, trust me, but unfortunately, we are getting close to the end. So, as a last question, if you could give CHROs one piece of advice about EVP, just one, what would that be?
Have the courage to tell the truth. The truth is better than any strategic. So, the strongest employer brands don't attract everyone, as we said, and that's okay. So tell your truth and work as a filter, not only as a magnet. If you work as a magnet, you're good, but you have to filter based on your truth. What are those talents that really can thrive, stay, and succeed in your company?
Everyone that comes into the show, in the end, I'd like to ask for a recommendation. Who would you like to recommend?
𝘰𝘰𝘥𝘪𝘵𝘀𝘵, who is in charge of their global employer brand, is an amazing strategist. She grew up inside of PepsiCo, 𝘮𝘰𝘮𝘥𝘪𝘵𝘀𝘵, and they did like an amazing campaign for the Belgian police.
Challenge accepted. Thank you for the recommendations. This is a fight that will never stop. It's the war for talent for the future, right? Which is to make their voice be heard out there, track the best, or filter the best. That's it, obviously. Thank you, Bell.
Count on me, Joan. Thank you very much for this podcast. I'm a listener already, and I hope to help you give a little spark from Latin America for you guys. Count on me.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.